Today, we have some news that isn't about CDPR and Cyberpunk 2077. This is ChillPoint. We have some.
Yeah. I mean, some is
a lot of it
word.
is not gonna lie. A lot of it is about Cyberpunk 2077.
It's been a busy week for that game.
Yeah. It's one of those like curses. Like, may you have a busy week. May you have a busy launch week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but before we dive into that news, just a reminder: if any of you are looking for this week's checkpoint, one has not occurred yet.
Look harder.
So
you just haven't found it yet.
Watch last week's.
Your test will not go against your final grade. It's okay. It's the holidays.
We're hoping to have it up on Sunday. There was just some illness issues. Nothing serious, just cold.
Yeah, it's been a weird week for everybody. You know, still blame the time traveler who didn't fill out all their permits properly, but you know.
So this is ChillPoint, show where we talk about video game news stories, both those that will or have been on the episode of CheckPoint that has not gone up yet, unless it has by the time you're seeing this. We need some sort of different
disclaimer.
We need like a tense to talk about something that hasn't happened yet, but will have happened by the time you're watching this if it's a replay.
Yeah.
It's like a different tense. Will have happened.
Future past.
It's going to have
future
happened.
past.
It's going to have happened.
Anyway. Future, present, past. We get like all of them in there with one tense.
YouTube tense.
I don't want to give things to YouTube since they don't really give me the things I want. Just putting that out there.
But yeah, we're going to talk about some of the things that might make their way into this week's Checkpoint episode, and things that probably won't make it into this week's episode of Checkpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but you'll get to try to figure out which ones they are.
Yeah, watch a future episode to find out if you were right.
So, let's first try to see if we can get rid of all this Cyberpunk 2077 stuff. So, like, at a certain point, I was talking to Graham about this, and I was like, I almost like there's the stories about like glitches in Cyberpunk 2077 is not even that, like, it's not even like even worth talking about anymore. Like, there have been so many dunks on Cyberpunk 2077 in the past week that it's just like I just start kind of feel bad for it at this, like, I feel bad for the people, like the people for the company who've been working on this game for like 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clear, obviously, that there was all sorts of issues with the development of this thing, and that was something, and that all these issues were sort of massively compounded by the sort of public messaging on the part of CDPR. And there is a bit of the people have done like the No Man's Sky comparison, and I can see that in some ways where it's like it's like the game has all sorts of problems, and that's one thing. But the reaction, I don't think, would be as extreme if CDPR hadn't spent the last year, like, first saying that, first missing, like, keep continually announcing deadlines and then missing them, saying that they're not going to do, crunch, and then doing crunch, talking about all the amazing stuff that's going to be in the game that turned out to not be in the game necessarily. The game is what it is, but the whole situation is made much, much worse by the sort of public messaging that CDPR has been doing.
I mean, there is that, but I will say CDPR has done something which I don't think I've ever seen happen, which I would call the reversal of a new game release day, which is Sony's removing it from the store. It sounds like Xbox is also potentially doing that, and Best Buy has said you can return all your physical copies, whether you've opened them or not. Like, it's kind of this weird time travel of what if we just go backwards.
I forget where I saw it, but somebody was saying it's becoming a retroactive PC exclusive.
Mm-hmm. Because apparently on PC, people are saying it runs fine.
It runs fine, assuming you've got a super beefy PC.
Right.
Apparently, it's got some serious optimization issues where if you've got a beefy enough PC, you can just kind of grind through it, and you can be like, "Yay, I can play this at 1080p at 60 frames a second, and it's fine."
And it's a very cyberpunk aesthetic.
Even
that only the rich will be able to play it.
Even though all the other games, even though I can play other games that have come out this month at 4K and fine on my computer, I can at least play this at 1080.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because I do feel like I'm watching somebody try to take back all of their stuff in real time, and I'm like, I can't recall another video game that I've watched do it to this degree.
Yeah.
For those reasons.
So that's obviously the general background noise that's happening with CDPR and Cyberpunk 2077. But then there's all these it's kind of like this fractal thing, right? There's this big aspect where it's all these glitches and marketing issues and various things, but then then each individual aspect has really, in some cases, quite funny and interesting specific issuings that are in some cases more interesting to talk about, at least for us. For instance, there's a unnecessarily large amount of dildos everywhere in the game.
Yes.
They're just scattered something to do with how the loot table is set up in terms of random.
Wait, it's a piece of loot?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's a crafting material.
Yeah. You can pick them up. You can sell them, but you can also craft with them, and it's.
Are they new? Are they fresh and box sealed?
They
don't know.
Not in boxes. I'll tell you that.
No. No, but it's not. But it's unknown whether they are unused. But it could be, given the sheer preponderance of them everywhere, that maybe they are. Maybe they fell off the back of a dildo truck and just sprayed everywhere.
I wouldn't trust it.
So it's just somehow the same system that's generating all the random stuff seems to be generating more than one would expect of these. And so the explanation is that they CDPR said that they want to keep it, that the idea is that in the future the society is much more sort of sexually liberated, and so things that might be taboo now might not be in the future.
Okay.
Which is
okay, but
which
but
is
you shouldn't just
okay. But the way to illustrate that is not just dildos everywhere.
You don't just throw all your dildos on the ground because you're sexually liberated. You gotta still keep those things clean.
I feel like there's a way that could have. In fact, one would argue that maybe in the future, where there's where they aren't so hung up on stuff, and there's all sorts of people are more talking, and there's public education stuff. People probably keep their dildos much nice and cleaner, and
on a shelf, like a trophy tray or something.
Yeah, they could display them on their mantelpiece.
Like how you see
Erica Moen do it.
I was gonna say grandmothers keep their teacup sets in the china cabinet.
No. Erica Moen has a dildo hutch in her living room.
Sure.
Yeah,
but
from all the stuff that she gets for review, it's kind of like I just started putting them up in my china cabinet.
Yeah,
like, awesome.
But my reference to grandmothers and teacups makes it more
palatable.
Weird.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But okay, if you want to talk about
real
someone
life
who just does it actually.
Yeah, porcelain dildos never really took off as an idea, I don't think.
No, weirdly porous, actually. Yeah, porcelain is a little porous.
They're not a good dildo.
Yeah, not a good idea to use that. Glass is kind of your preferred.
I mean, if you want a decorative-only dildo,
yeah,
that's fine. I mean, put up a little sign, maybe, let people know, decorative-only dildo.
I do like the idea of Precious Moments making a porcelain dildo, though. That's really good.
I mean, in the future, if everyone's so sexually liberated, sure.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to throw all their dildos on the ground. I wouldn't make a Precious Moments dildo.
Mm-hmm.
Garbage.
So, anyway, despite this explanation as to why they're there, I think even assuming that explanation, they were like, actually, now that we've looked at it, there are way too many around. We'll probably fix that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and my opinion is that it's like they're like, oh, yeah, there's too many around, and I'm like, no. That's not at this point.
Too many dildos maybe should be on the back burner of their list of things to fix at this point.
I think it's not a case of you need to reduce the number. I think it's need to change the location of it. That I think there needs to be in Night City. There just needs to be a giant pipe that's just shooting rain of dildos into just one area of town, because that is a statement. That's saying that, well, this is the pleasure district, and we just have a giant 4 foot, 8 foot diameter pipe that is just raining dildos out onto the ground, or through a grate, and you can just stand underneath it and get beaten to death with them.
Is that
that? That's cyberpunk.
Okay, no. I want to know, is that this future of how you expect something to be liberated and free is that is being shot out of a giant mechanical thing into a lot? Because if we're gonna have a dildo lot, I want a weed lot.
Yeah, I think there should also be an area that just has a giant pipe that is just extruding tons of narcotics.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of syringes.
No,
and you can stand in the middle and...
Those are pointy. That's hard. No, I just meant the plant.
See, people are saying this sounds very Saints Row, and I'm like, I think that's kind of my point, is that Cyberpunk has, for the glitching, we should talk about the glitching, because I think that also leads into a Saints Row thing as well. I have seen tremendous glitching where people are walking along the street, and I think they hear something because they turn their heads first person, so they turn their head to the right, and a motorcycle comes flying out of nowhere and just slams into the wall right in front of them, and it's like, your ride's here, and it's like, what the fuck was that? Why did that even show up? It's not like whistling for Epona and having the horse come out of nowhere. This thing just, for no reason, just slam into the side of the wall, and I'm like, that's... if they don't make a Saints Row 5 or 6 or whatever they're on right now and use that kind of idea, then I think Cyberpunk is beating them to the punch of, what if just really weird shit happens to you all the time in Night City, even though it's supposed to be real life?
So, well, there's the great, I remember, I love in Assassin's Creed, because, Assassin's Creed has had its share of serious glitches, especially... I forget which one. Unity, I think, was the one that was when it came out, had serious people's faces all mangled up and eyes in weird places.
Oh yeah, the Paris one, right?
Very disturbing stuff. But the great thing about Assassin's Creed is in the game, you are playing a game within the game. So maybe that is actually a glitch in Abstergo software in the game. It's Abstergo kind of muffed it on this one, and there's a lot of glitches in the Animus software. Not much we can do about that. Which I kind of like you could or occasionally if somebody just disappears for no reason, or does something weird in Assassin's Creed, theoretically that actually totally works in game. Cyberpunk can't really get away with that. You were saying the thing with the motorcycles coming out of nowhere. The other glitch that people were talking about that I really like is I don't know if this is all the time, but at least some of the time when you're driving a car, you are not wearing pants. And
Right.
I mean, why do you need to wear pants while you're driving a car, Paul?
exactly. Well, as with
Those leather
these
seats, that's why.
as with these video calls that we're all in these days, you can't tell that people in cars don't have any pants on because you can't see. And in Cyberpunk, the way the camera is set up, you can't actually see into the cars, and that works great. The problem is that combined with various other glitches, which make character models just randomly T-pose for no reason.
Oh yeah, you shoot them in the head, and they're like, okay.
Means that you end up when somebody T-poses, as with a video call, if somebody stands up and T-poses, it becomes clear whether they're wearing pants or not, and apparently they're not. It's so, and the weird part is that it's not that they don't have like legs. Like, you could kind of understand they were like, oh, when people are in cars, we won't bother rendering their legs. They do have legs.
Yeah.
With bare leg texture on them. They just don't bother rendering the clothes.
No, I mean, because, well, in this game, in Cyberpunk, you can't wear more than one pair of pants at a time. And so clearly
that's not very Cyberpunk of them, is it?
Clearly what they're doing is that when you get into the car, your pants have to come off so you can wear the car as pants.
Oh, okay, all right.
Clearly that has to be what they did here. It's like in Fallout, where there was the train that ran past the background, and how they did it is they just gave like an invisible dude a train hat, and he just ran past incredibly fast.
Yeah, that was really good.
That's what this is here.
I do want to know. Somebody asked in chat if they're still wearing underoos, and I want to know if pants just like commando down there.
I don't think there's underwear in the game. Judging from every rendering thing I've seen, there's no underwear.
I'm just gonna go. Yeah. Let me just say. Yeah. Do you think the characters in Cyberpunk 2077 are wearing underwear? Because apparently,
I mean, I don't think about whether or not other people are wearing underwear. So I don't really think about it in video games either. It's just it's none of my business. Especially if they're wearing pants, even if it's a car for pants. I don't need to know if they're wearing underoos.
Some people in chat are saying that there is underwear, but if there's proof, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not about to go buy the game to find out.
Mm-hmm.
For various reasons.
If the car is your pants, what part of the car is your underwear?
The clutch?
The seat leather?
What? It's not the brakes.
I don't know now whether I ask you to explain what you think the clutch is.
It's the stick that's next to the other stick if you're doing the thing that lets you do like T-turns and stuff, right?
No, it isn't.
Like, I don't have to know anything about cars to know car part news.
Gonna let you slide on this. I didn't know whether to ask you this or not, but I was like, I think it might be better just to move on.
You were not.
But I couldn't get that out of my mouth before you felt the need to answer. So it is the.
Yeah, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You were not going to let me go.
I think you've ridden around in your dad's like giant semi truck, because they're semi trucks, the ones that have more than one gear shift lever on the floor.
All kinds of.
They have tons of levers,
knobs and buttons that I don't know what they're doing. You're not supposed to touch if you're a passenger.
No, definitely do not.
Especially
touch the
if you're in the
lever.
back on the bed area in the cab. Definitely not supposed to touch any of that.
All right.
Why do you think I didn't take any van driving skills for Not a Drop to Drink? I don't think I took any driving skills.
Have we talked sufficiently about car pants?
Yeah, I believe so.
Can we ever talk sufficiently about car pants?
Anyway.
This is your fault, you know.
And the next Cyberpunk 2077 news is so this whole thing, of course, the biggest issue has been with the Xbox One and PS4 versions of the game.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Which, right up until it was released, CDPR was very, Yes.
Bullish.
Bullish. Yeah, we are developing all of the versions of Cyberpunk 2077 simultaneously. It is always, it is always simultaneously being rendered on all of the different platforms, so that we can make sure that they stay in line with each other, and that it's going to be great. Of course, it won't run as well. It won't be quite as visually impressive on the Xbox One as it will be on the Series X or on the PC. But it turns out that is true. It is not as visually impressive. In fact, it is completely very, very bad. And now Cyberpunk 2070, or now CDPR has said, we'll be honest, we didn't actually look at it on Xbox One and PS4. We probably should have.
Oh, gee. Another weird lie they made, huh?
We probably should have, taken a
Gee.
quick look at how it looked.
Gee.
How many of those yellow fucking screenshots are we gonna get where it's like, dear gamers, we'll be honest? Like, how much of that is gonna happen between when the game came out and when it will come out again?
Why do they have to keep saying "dear gamers"?
It's always dear gamers, because that's the only pronoun neutral, gender balanced way of referring to people who play video games. Gamers.
Dearest of gamers, please, I submit this letter onto thee.
My dearest
Know
gamer, it's
that
been a
while-
cold winter in Poland.
Yes.
Please send more polygons to render.
We know we didn't actually tell you about the flashing lights except in the EULA, in which we make fun of people who read the EULA, but we are here for you today.
Sorry, I'm just going to turn up my microphone a little bit, because people are saying I'm a little quiet.
But yeah, the idea that they're like, we were always compiling this, cross-compiling for every platform, and then to come out and be like, but we didn't actually
Yeah, in
pay
hindsight,
attention to what was happening.
yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe
I've
they were
read-
compiling it for every platform, just not actually looking at it after it's like it compiled, so it's got to be
Yeah,
fine.
all comes from the same code base, right? And if you're not getting any warnings, then you're like, okay, everything's cool. And
I have read on Twitter there are some people that are hoping that in light of all of this, this will be like a warning against the day one patch and the things that like, oh, that's a hopeful thought, and honestly I would dearly love that as well, but
yeah,
Because part of the reason why they got called out on this is, of course, they very conspicuously did not allow people to review the PS4 and Xbox One versions. Like, they did not send them out to reviewers, which again shows that they knew it wasn't good, or that they hadn't paid attention to it. So it's just frustrating that way.
yeah, they definitely tried to use the system of reviews in order to. Oddly, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. People would have still had a lot of pre-orders, and there would have still been a lot of day one buys over it. But it sounds like they really tried their hardest to make it so that people couldn't review certain copies, or they had less time to review, or all kinds of things.
And to be honest, there is an aspect of this that it's like, because we talk about, it comes up quite often on CheckPoint and various news things, that all of the console manufacturers have a certification process, which usually when we talk about it in CheckPoint, it's in the context of this certification process is a huge pain in the butt. Because it's what makes it so that like bug updates and stuff will come out on PC before they come out on consoles, or they'll be like, this thing is happening that is killing people's save files. We'll fix it in 2 weeks. And people are like, what? Why don't you fix it right away? They're like, the fix is ready, it's done. But there's a certification process that we have to go through and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, if the certification process didn't pick up that Cyberpunk 2077 is so broken. And they actually said, like, in this article on Ars Technica where they're talking about where CDPR is talking about this, they say because people have been complaining or have been pointing out that like how did Sony and Microsoft
certify
approve
this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
They say they're trying to keep the bridges anyway. They're saying this is definitely on our side. I can only assume that they trusted that we were going to fix things upon release. Obviously, that did not come together exactly as we had planned. But like that should not work. Like that should
all
not
I'm
be.
hearing here is a really big argument against don't pre-order video games ever.
But like
the balls of being like
the Nintendo
the
seal of
problem is
approval
they trusted us.
wouldn't have gone for that kind of shit. You know what?
The problem is they trusted us, and really, when it comes down to it, they shouldn't have trusted us. We were gonna fuck them right from the beginning.
Yeah,
and obviously that's what's going on here. But that's kind of the read, right? Where it's like, I didn't think, like he, as the head of the Soprano family, that guy thought that I wasn't going to murder his ass in a dumpster, and well, it's really. I mean, it's on him that he trusted me not to murder his ass, like, because that's what we do, is we turn out buggy shit on release.
Right.
Like,
companies are not your friends.
No.
So
especially the one that wants to tell you in your face that you shouldn't have trusted them. Definitely not your friend.
So I mean,
I'm being very facetious. So
there is this aspect of, as Lurkerspine in the chat is saying that theoretically the certification process, I guess, is only really supposed to check to see whether it's going to actually like literally break the console or crash your console and stuff, which I don't think Cyberpunk 2077 does.
No,
I haven't heard about that amongst all the other things.
Yeah, you just get stuff like whoops. No, that's not the thing.
Oh no, glitches are coming into the stream.
You get stuff like this, which is not cool.
Yeah, like
that's just a ghost.
But it's like you obviously is like
I've seen that horror
that's
story.
probably not intended to be part of the gameplay.
Probably not.
And also like certifying a game this big for a console, if you had to test everything, you are basically like having to play the game. Or you're having to put 1,000 people on it to be like, we need you to go in all these different directions and try to do so. It's like Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo, they're people who do certification. They are not QA. Their job is not to ensure that your game is fully functional. Their job is to ensure that as you do things in the game, what is recognized as relevant parts of doing things in the game, that those things are operating correctly. And that's why you hear about, like, and even on Apple's platform, it's the same thing. It's like, that's why you hear about stuff that's like, you approved this for release and then you took it off. It's like, yeah, well, we can't test everything. All we can do is ensure that it runs and that it's not going to break the thing that's running. And then when we find out later that, no, you actually introduced something that would break our platform, that's why we have to pull it.
So then, and then, the continued fractal digging down on this stupid stuff is that CDPR is like, okay, full disclosure, we messed up. I'm sorry. If you are unhappy with your purchase, we understand. Please, you can get a refund from Sony or Microsoft for your thing and refund your thing. And then the next day, turns out they didn't tell Sony or Microsoft that they were going to do this. And, for instance, Sony has a policy that they don't do that.
Yeah.
If you have installed the game, you can't get a refund unless it actually doesn't run, which it does run. And they never asked Sony to have special dispensation or anything like that. So then they're like, so it's just this, like, even their apologies fail. And it's just like, ugh, come on, guys. So now we're at the point where, we're at the point now where Sony and Best Buy, I don't know, so Sony has delisted the game. And I kind of like the idea where Sony is just like, okay, you know what? will allow refunds for this game, but our requirement for allowing refunds is that the game doesn't operate. If CDPR is telling us that we need to allow refunds because we need to allow refunds, that's because the game doesn't operate. And if the game doesn't operate, we're delisting it from our store. Like, I kind of appreciate Sony's rationalization, where it's just like, if the game is at the point where people are getting things, then it's not something that we want in our store.
Yeah,
come back
also
when you fix it.
you have to, right? Like, because if you're going to go blanket policy, you can return this game whenever because it's buggy and you bought it, and someone goes and buys it because they're like, well, it's not buggy enough that I can't play it, and then they return it. That's a sale they're never going to get to keep. Mm-hmm. So they kind of have to also stop.
Yeah, and I mean, I wouldn't want to have to keep selling something that I'm like, someone's going to turn around and refund. If I know that's going to happen, it's like, I better just stop selling this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, refunding stuff is very, very bad from a storefront point of view. Almost always you're losing money on it because you're paying you're paying your credit card fees and all that stuff on top of everything else. So it is not a great idea. They definitely don't want that happening.
But this does seem like the largest ever of these kind of things, where it's like, this thing is not finished, or this thing everyone's rebelling against, or however you want to put it. It's like, it's the biggest that this has ever happened, I think.
Like, it's basically like a recall. Like if like a car has a manufacturing fault and they have to recall them. That's kind of what they're doing.
Yeah.
Except they're only doing it like in some cases, so I don't know. I can totally see that in, as they've said, we're working in January and possibly February, we're going to be putting out patches that's going to fix all this. And so maybe in 6 months this will be a really good game. It'll be at least the game that they're choosing to release. It'll be the game as it was supposed to be, which again is kind of different from the game that people thought it was. But apparently, if you realize what kind of game it's supposed to be, which is basically The Witcher but in the future, then and you enjoy that, then maybe in 6 months you can play it and you'll like it. But
yeah, I don't know. I assume that's 6 more months of crunch for the devs to try and fix that as fast as possible, and on top of crunch they've already had to do for an extremely long time. So I just feel bad for them either way.
And I think
like
we also...
It's the worst kind, too. Like, it's like finding and doing bugs and stuff. It's not like the cool creative part of the process.
Yeah, it's like you don't get to change anything here anymore. You basically get to try to stamp out the stuff that's causing issue. And then you wonder how far back that might even go in the first place. Because then you're also like, well, everyone's saying it's working fine on PC, and I wouldn't even know how to talk about whether it's doing that or not, because who knows. But these could be fundamental things that are just not showing up on PC for whatever reason, but that could be fundamental parts of the game. It might not just... It's because you're like, well, why is it working fine on PC and not working fine on PS4 and Xbox One? It's like, that might actually be something fundamental to how the game is made that it can't... But I'm not a programmer, so I can't speak to that. I can speak to the ridiculousness that their share price has fallen almost 50 points in 24 hours.
Turns out all press is not good press.
So, holy crap! And that is a significant chunk of their that was about a 15 to 16% fall in their share price in about a day. Interesting to see what that's going to mean for being able to pay the people that need to fix this in the first place and to keep everything running going forward.
Mm-hmm. And that's not assuming that there wasn't already like DLC for this game that they were planning on doing.
Yeah.
Other fixes they were hoping to fix later or improve later, but would have like whatever functioning at the time. Like this game was never going to be truly like done when it released anyway.
Yeah. The reason why I would consider this a relevant idea is because this is seeing a drop like that and seeing the debacle that's going on, that represents a very real investment issue to people who, because if you have a share price, you're a publicly traded company. If you're a publicly traded company, you probably have a lot of people who are involved, who have investments involved in your company in the first place. And that means that if they're seeing that price drop precipitously, and they're looking at what's going on in your company right now, they might be saying, does it make sense for me to actually keep my money with you? Does it make sense for me to keep investing with you? What the hell is going on at the company that is leading to this kind of, is it mismanagement? And then is it top-level mismanagement? Is it top-level to mid-level mismanagement? Do you have to go, as part of the board, do you say, you're out in your goddamn ear, look at what happened, or we're throwing your ass out, or we're going to have a vote on what goes on in the company. There's a lot of like long-reaching business aspects to this that will definitely be like, what does the health of CD Projekt look like, or CD Projekt Red specifically look like, if this is happening to CD Projekt? Not really sure what that's going to mean, but it's definitely the kind of thing where it's like, we play a wait-and-see approach to see what happens over the next 6 months to a year, right? That could be some shit. Because CD Projekt also runs GOG.
Yes.
Right? They have more irons in the fire than just they did Cyberpunk.
Well, yeah. But
so anyway, I think that was the main stuff about Cyberpunk 2077. Clearly, there's going to be more stuff with this. Like, and from a CheckPoint point of view, it's one of those weird things where we're like, just talking about this game that continues to be broken isn't that interesting. But why it keeps coming up is it keeps new quirks, new little aspects of this thing keep coming out in odd ways, which catches our attention. But so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I would like it to stop effing up just because I would like to stop talking about it one day.
Yeah, there's only so many stories we'll be able to wring out of this for CheckPoint in the first place.
On a completely different topic, GOG. Which is a CDPR, which is also a CDPR company.
I guess it was right here in the headline. I knew it was coming.
Yeah. And Siri just looked up CDPR on my phone. There's this thing about devolution. Devotion, sorry.
Yeah.
I got devotion and like devolver confused in my brain. Okay, yes. Devotion. Which is a game that I think we talked about on CheckPoint when it was originally delisted from the Steam store. Ostensibly because it had a Easter egg in it making fun of the Chinese Prime Minister, comparing him to Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh.
Ah, right, okay. I know who we're talking. Whenever anyone brings up Winnie the Pooh, I actually know which person we're talking about.
Pretty sure that the game itself is made in Taiwan?
Yes, so it's made by Red Candle Games, which is a Taiwanese developer. And so it's called Devotion. It had this thing, and it got delisted from the Steam store. And then a couple days ago, there was this big announcement that it is now going to be in the GOG store. Which is like, yay, it's going to be in the GOG, yay! And then the next day, GOG saying, earlier today it was announced that the game Devotion is going to come to GOG. After hearing many messages from gamers, we have decided not to list the game in our store. That
sounds like a lie.
Which, okay, so the two aspects.
Okay, really? Really, a bunch of gamers went up to them.
Hang on.
Is like one. Yeah, it does seem like initially it does seem hard to believe that a bunch of gamers, upon hearing that Devotion is going to come to the store, said, "No, please don't put this game in your store. We don't think
above anything else.
We don't.
Please do not put a game in your game store. We don't want you to put games in your game store."
Yes, we don't think this game
it seems
should
really
be
weird.
in the store. Now, the other aspect of this is, I'll be honest, a part that I don't quite understand the dynamics of this, but it is a fact that part of the reason why it got massively or delisted in the Steam store is that not only had it violated this thing or whatever, or that it made fun of the prime minister, but part of it was it got like massively review bombed in the Steam store for that. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Chinese, ostensibly Chinese Steam users, gamers, review bombed this thing and complained about it.
Okay.
Whether that was an actual thing, like whether that was an actual like Chinese gamers did not like it, or whether that was some sort of whatever state sponsored thing to badmouth the game, I don't know. But maybe there is a contingent of Chinese gamers that are protective of their prime minister and don't want it to be don't want a thing that made fun of him available. I don't know. It doesn't sound like gamers to me, but you know what?
Yeah,
I don't know that.
I have
don't
no
know,
proof of the contrary.
I don't know
so.
the aspect of this.
There's a few weird things, because I did hear somebody say at one point, they're like, wait, is Steam actually even available in China specifically? Can you actually install Steam in China and use it as a citizen? Or is this, because this could have, if this is a massive astroturfing operation, it would make sense that it's like a bunch of Chinese gamers showed up, and it's like, could be a bunch of people obviously who were put on to make a bunch of Steam accounts. They have access to do that. They have access to go in and review bomb and do whatever. Whereas the rank and file people wouldn't. Now I'm hearing from in chat that it's like, no, apparently yes, it is available. Steam is available as something to play there. So there could be an additional. If it's not politically motivated, it could be self-interest motivated. That it's like, if you put this game on Steam, and the Chinese Communist Party says, we don't like that there's a single instance, there is one game available on Steam that is available, just the fact that it's on Steam in the first place and makes fun of our premiere, we don't like that, we will take Steam away. And that might be what everyone is reacting to, being like, oh shit, I better get in there and denounce this, because if I don't, then the Chinese Communist Party may just completely cut off our access to Steam in the first place. So we need to be an arm of the government, inadvertently, like at arm's length, essentially, the arm's length arm of the government, to basically be like, if I don't say anything, I'm going to lose access to all my other stuff that I have on Steam. That could be motivation as well.
Well, I feel like that's a fine theory based on how a certain event in November went down in our partners to the south. I would say that there are probably just a whole bunch of people who really stand that dude.
Yeah, there's that too, right? Like, there are a billion people in China, and there are probably there's definitely a lot of young men in China. That's what I keep hearing over and over. So there's a good chance that this could just have been a groundswell of whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, because like when this first came out, there was this immediate like, yeah, gamers, right? It's obviously like the Chinese government strong-armed them into not doing it, which is possible. But it is also possible that the dynamics of the population's relationship with the government is different. You know,
yeah.
Those of us in North America can't really imagine going to bat for protecting to badmouth a game that makes fun of our government, because we don't care as much. Like, if there was a game that was making fun of Justin Trudeau, I would be like, okay, sure.
There would be people. There would be people.
I think there would be some people that would probably do something.
I don't know if it would be to the same degree. I don't know, whatever. There'd be a bunch of us who would think it was funny, regardless of whether we liked him or not. But there's always going to be somebody who does not like that, who takes it very seriously. Yeah,
that this is a very important, serious problem, and I need to go and start complaining.
Especially if it's in a like relatively benign thing of he looks like this cartoon character. It's not like some bad, but anyway.
Yeah.
Well, then let's examine that. Which Disney character does Justin Trudeau look the most like? I'm going to say right now, too, now that he has the beard and it's graying a bit and all that kind of thing. Which Disney character do you think he looks the most like at this point? Doesn't have to be a Winnie the Pooh character. It could be anybody. It's hard, right? Like
I'm not sure offhand.
Maybe
Tigger?
somebody from Atlantis. I like Tigger. That's funny.
Tigger's pretty good.
Doctor Strange. That's funny.
For some reason, my first thought is like the llama from Emperor's New Groove.
Oh yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah. Let's make him the llama.
Yeah. Okay. He looks like Cusco, Llama Cusco. All right. Let's just say that. Let's just. Why not? There, doing some good work
I
here.
don't particularly find this like offensive. It's just a funny, weird thing that sounds like whether you want to take that as like an insult or not. But
But
there's going to be somebody out there who would be angry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Strom is a furry.
It appears again to be I don't know. It's hard not to see this as like once again CDPR kind of like doing something without considering the implications of it, and then sort of announcing it, and then realizing that there was a reason why other people weren't doing it, and being like, oh, okay, we'll change this.
And I mean, when you say not considering, I'm like, maybe it's the phrase is better, not fully considering, because it's like they might have even thought, well, and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they probably thought, oh man, this Taiwanese game can't get a release anywhere. You know, we can be on the side of right here. We can be on the side of solidarity, like we can be on the side of pushing things forward, like making things, you know, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, China will have a reaction to it, but that's okay, because what do we care about China having a reaction to our platform in the first place? Maybe they don't consider, like, maybe GOG isn't like has a huge presence in China. I don't know. And then the sheer just maybe the torrent of abuse they had to undergo as a result of it, or maybe something happened to them in ways that they didn't expect that would impact their business, that they're like, oh wait, no, we didn't see the totality of how badly this would affect our business, and now we have to get rid of it. That is a possibility.
They at minimum they probably weren't expecting the backlash.
Exactly.
Whether they knew or not,
that
this thing was that was a thing that had occurred, or maybe they just thought, oh hey, we have access to this cool game that people seem to be excited about. Let's put it on our platform. At minimum, they maybe didn't expect that the backlash would be so great that they would feel like they would have to go against that decision.
Exactly. And then when it happened, it's like, oh god, that was a lot.
Okay.
I
think we are done for CDPR stories for this
Great.
week.
Oh, good.
Right.
Okay, what's next? If you pull out a CDPR story.
Here's a Twitch story.
Here's actually kind of a fun. It's fun. So fun relative, but so this is there's this great there's interview where talked about the Surgeon General was talking about developing the COVID vaccine.
The U.S. Surgeon General.
Yeah,
just so everyone knows. Yeah.
And Dr. Jerome Adams, and he was talking about it, using one of these great metaphors that kind of breaks down. But
was it a car analogy?
No. This is a video game show. He says, I want to put it in Christmas think for people out there. The Xbox is the new big gift for Christmas. And what we did really was use what we called platform technology. If you get a new Xbox and you want to change your game out, you don't need to throw the whole Xbox out and buy a new Xbox. You just get a new game. What we did is use with this vaccine was use a platform that had been around for a decade, so we know it's safe, we know it's effective. We changed the cartridge to adapt it to COVID-19. And that's really what's scientifically allowed us to get hit in record time. Vaccines are safe. So basically, they're talking about how the the entire thing is just that like the underlying structure, the delivery mechanism is a well understood one, and they just had to change it slightly to work with COVID-19, which means that a lot of it was already like tested and known to be safe. So
Right.
you don't
And
trying to
then-
reassure people that you don't have to be worried about the vaccine, which is a valid thing. He really gets into the weeds on I feel like the Xbox thing, especially using it in the year when all the new consoles are coming out, which kind
It's
of
digital only.
That was the point?
Which kind of messes
Clearly.
up the analogy.
Did he just like swivel his chair around and go, "Hey gamers,
Also,
I want to talk to you about Xbox and vaccines."
did everyone count all of the weird kind of misunderstandings he made through the whole process? Because like this is definitely a series of tubes situation. Is what happened here. Other than the fact that he said cartridges, let's just go with series of tubes, where it's like, oh, the internet is not a truck; it's a series of tubes. If everyone remembers that dude from Alaska, right, the senator, or I think it's a senator from Alaska, who said that, his metaphor is technically correct, but is still inaccurate in a way that doesn't like, that's why people made fun of him, because it's like, you don't come off as the kind of guy that when you say it's a series of tubes, that you come off as the kind of guy who maybe literally believes it's a series of tubes, even though maybe
Right.
this dude had a better technical understanding, right?
Like, I'd argue the series of tubes is actually a fair
Yeah.
to me that's actually like I will defend that analogy. It's actually a surprisingly good analogy. But yeah, there's this idea that you don't if you don't believe that he is using an analogy and not as that he doesn't think that it's real.
I think this problem was he didn't deliver it in what is going to be the newest hottest meme, which is, dearest gamers, as we all know, the Xbox is the hottest Christmas gift of all this year.
But you know
And
what's
this-
hotter?
You know what is even better? A vaccine. And if, like a vaccine is just like a video game system that you can receive for Christmas. You don't have to get rid of the Xbox every time you want to play a new video game. You just have to change up the cartridge. Just like vaccines.
Just like the Xbox.
I'm glad he didn't go like and like the vaccine or like a Xbox game or a PlayStation game. You can be assured that the vaccine is safe because it has followed all the certification things.
Yes!
Which would have. I'm glad he did not do that. That's
Yeah. Sometimes we release a vaccine into your body box that doesn't work the way we expected, so we will give you a refund for it while it's busy killing you.
I
a
really
day
want somebody.
one update to the vaccine.
I really want someone to be like, sir, the PlayStation 5 is also a really hot commodity. It's like, okay, we will take that again, but also with PlayStation 5 to appeal to the other gamers. Not all gamers will buy both.
I couldn't figure out whether he was saying Xbox, like, because like he picked Xbox, and I'm kind of like, so why did you pick Xbox? Is it because it's the American console, and that's the one you're supposed to talk about? Did you pick it because it has the most evocative name? Because it's short and it's punchy, and there's like, because it's like Xbox. I mean, that's why Microsoft called it that. It is a very punchy name. And so is it because you can't, because have we as a society gotten to a point where it's like you don't call something your Nintendo anymore, right? When it's like he sits down with that Nintendo I got him that's called the Genesis. Like that, remember that shit when everything was a Nintendo?
I would have paid for him to have said the Dreamcast.
And I'm like, is this dude the kind of dude that calls everything an Xbox?
I mean, maybe.
Or
It's like-
That's possible.
is it that his kids asked for an Xbox, so it was like the first thing on his
Front of
mind?
mind.
Oh, probably. 100%. But that's not nearly as fun as the things
No.
I'm making up.
It's a wild way of looking at the description. I think that it's like it's an Xbox, and we don't have to throw the whole Xbox out and get a new Xbox. It's like, no, you wouldn't, because it wouldn't come with a game in the first place anyway. What are you talking about?
Also, the fact that he's talked about a cartridge means that he does not have a clear image in his mind of what an Xbox is, because you want to be like, huh. So where in the Xbox does the cartridge go? Just out of curiosity.
There's a slot in the back, and it's about $300 for a new cartridge, and then
Oh goodness.
it's the
Yeah,
I'm
no.
talking about that.
I know what you're talking
Yeah,
about. I
hard drive
keep up
port,
on
yeah.
video game news sometimes.
Exactly. You know what it is. It could be that it was like, my kids have that Xbox that they can just put in a case and take everywhere with them. It's like that. Dad, that's the Nintendo Switch. My God, you're lame.
This is a picture-in-picture with the grandkids in the corner being like, "Why did we needed to tell them more information?"
No Xbox has ever had a cartridge. This is what kills me on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've never. I mean, yeah,
They haven't even done like a
cartridges.
memory card thing, right? Like,
I don't.
No, it's
'Cause I
always
could-
been CD or DVD based.
I could forgive someone for thinking that the memory card from like a GameCube or whatever is a game cartridge of some kind.
Sure, yeah. Oh, they had memory cards for the OG and the 360. Oh, okay. Neat.
All right, let's other stuff. Warhammer. So this is not really video game related, although it is digital. So Warhammer 40,000, Warhammer 40K, which if you have watched some of Cam's painting streams, for instance, he's done a lot of stuff with that. And also it is licensed to a surprisingly large number of video games of varying levels of quality. But anyway, 9th edition Warhammer 40,000 came out over the summer, and part of the thing with it is that it now has a sort of a digital companion thing that will help you out with some of the more complex rules stuff. And
Because there's a lot of rules.
There's a lot of rules and there's a lot of calculations. And so everyone was like, this is a great idea. So the first problem is the app is kind of hard to find because there are a lot of Warhammer 40,000 apps in the App Store that have nothing to do with Games Workshop.
And what did they call this one? What is the title of this app?
Warhammer 40,000 : the app.
Great.
Good,
job.
no confusion can
You
happen.
basically have to look for that exact phrase, otherwise you will get the wrong one.
Have you got the app? Which one? The 40K app.
But the other problem is that it's a little bit like D&D in the sense that they have like an online service that you can subscribe to that gives you all of the books, like that you can have, so you can have all of the books on your device instead of just
Yeah,
as
you
a
pay
subscription thing.
$40 for a book. Like that's how D&D Beyond, where you pay $40 for a
Right.
book and then you just have access to all the books. Yeah.
Unfortunately, they've kind of done the worst of both worlds. I guess because so what they've if you subscribe to it, you get the 9th edition core rules, and you get
Right.
the 8th edition rules for the various factions, the codexes, because
Alright.
not all of the factions have 9th edition codexes out yet.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think we say codices.
Codices,
Yeah.
codexes.
Yeah.
Now, in order to get the 9th edition codices when they come out, you have to buy the physical books, and then they come with a QR code that you scan, which then allows you to access that information in the app. There is apparently no way to get the actual info in the app without also owning the physical book, which of course are often out of print or like not available because they're out of stock.
'Cause, yeah, they've made only so many, so they've taken the digital tactic and been like, how can we make sure that not everyone can have access?
Also, if you have bought the book, which is like $50 for one of the 9th edition codices, and scanned the QR code, added it to your digital thing for the Warhammer 40,000 thing, and then at some point decided to stop paying the $5 a month for your Warhammer 40,000 subscription, you lose access to everything, including the one that you bought.
Yep.
That. Oh, you weren't kidding when you said the worst of both worlds.
Yeah.
Wow. No.
Yeah, if you're going to play Warhammer, you're playing Warhammer forever.
That is... Oh, that's nasty in so many ways.
Yeah.
But it's, when you're the only one that has that, and you can do it however you want, then why wouldn't you do it like Lysander stuff being like, oh, it really is like college textbooks. It's like, it's sure.
They're taking using the college textbook model, which I believe is not a good model to be following.
Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, though, it's not like they're releasing a new edition every 6 months, which is what tends to happen with college textbooks. Like, 8th edition revised, 9th edition. Like, and it's funny, too, that it's like they're making this app. They're like, the 9th edition rules have come out, and only 8th edition stuff is available on top of that 9th edition bit. And also, if you've made, like, if you are using custom classes, I guess, custom factions, if you're using custom factions, and they use PDFs, that's separate to that isn't... I was reading the Polygon article, and it's like, the PDFs don't actually really integrate that well into what's going on with 9th edition in the first place, so you have to go look at all the rules from 8th edition and then also include these other things, but then you have to bring that up to make sure it works with 9th edition. I'm like, I understand that making a war game is a hard thing to do, but Jesus, like, this seems like a lot.
It's a tricky thing to do, but somehow they're making it like harder. They're making it harder than it should be. Like, it's that thing where it's like, I feel this is almost like I feel like this is like a 10-year-old or 5 years ago thing where it's like, we need to have the digital version, but we're very suspicious of the whole digital thing.
Yeah.
So we want to make it like, we want to make it as limited as possible, because really we want people to have the physical thing, but people have been on our butts about having the digital one, so we'll have a digital one, but we really don't want people to use it.
Because like, I like physical books.
Yeah.
I find them easier to read sometimes than like an e-reader, or I like just physically rifling through pages. But source books are heavy, so while I like physical, I'm like, I also like the convenience of digital. So having a thing where I could buy an all-in-one whatever would be great. I don't want them to make that a thing that everyone has to do. I want people who only want digital to get digital.
Yeah, and it's a weird sensation where you're like, we don't trust that this digital thing is going to be good for our business, because it will mean if people start buying digital books, they'll stop buying our physical books, which physical books cost an awful lot of money to print on top of everything leading up to making the book in the first place, which you're going to have to do for physical or digital versions. To do all that and then to also then print on top of that costs a lot of money. And if you can reduce the amount of these things that you have to print, then you think you'd be in a better state, except that they have no idea how digital is going to work, so they have to print physical copies. And so if they print a whole bunch of physical copies and they're like, and now you can also buy digitally, people might be like, what if they all rush for that? And they're like, well, now we're left with a bunch of unsold books. That doesn't work, because we'll have a bunch of unsold books sitting around.
Yeah, that is the assumption of how that would work, right? Because it's like, people are going to go after digital because it's more convenient.
Right.
It'll be cheaper or whatever.
You can imagine like being a junior executive at Games Workshop and like being really gung-ho about the digital thing and be like, we could come up with this app and we can have all the stuff in the app. And then people would be like, but if we give them digitally, nobody will, everyone will buy that. Instead, everyone will buy the books digitally and not buy the physical copies. And then the executive who's big on digital stuff being like, yes!
You got it! You got there!
That's the point!
And meanwhile, all the rest of the executives are there cradling their codices and being like, but I like my physical book. Why would I ever want to have I don't know why I'd want an
It's
ebook
like, and
of
then
this.
and then,
It's beautiful.
it's
Are
like,
they
but
secretly vampires so they don't understand technology?
sometimes Games Workshop seems like they might actually be vampires and not understand
Just
technology.
maybe they're run by vampires.
Holy
Yeah.
crap!
Maybe they're run by really old vampires who are like, I don't know why you want digital. Digital is bad.
No, Lysander Gustav called it. You just call them collector's editions.
Yeah, that's what everybody does.
Right? You give them a really nice slip. You give every one of them a really nice slipcase, or you design a slipcase. You do this. Here's the evil thing you do. You design a slipcase that holds a sub collection of the books, so that when you buy your first copy of the book, the collector's edition has a slipcase that has 5 empty slots in it.
Mm.
And then that way,
Oh no, you're doing the old anime box set
thing where you put the thing on the shelf. You're like, well, now I have all these holes, and now I have to fill them.
Oh no, I've been bitten by that. Have you ever had a series where you bought the first one with the box set, and then halfway through they're like, oh, the publisher's like, we're not making that anymore, and you have to get the ones from the other publisher, and they didn't bother making the first half.
Yeah, and they don't match.
And and they don't fit in your slipcover properly because that wasn't their product.
Right.
The other issue with Games Workshop stuff is that historically, because of how they work with the codices, it can be like years. In some cases, I think there has been situations where they're like 5 years has gone by after like the new edition comes out, where a certain army list just hasn't been updated, and so it's like, so you can't use it with the new edition. And so it's just like, so we're just not playing that one anymore. Do those guys still exist in this edition? And they're like, yeah, they still exist. We're just not printing that yet. Okay.
You just have to, cross your fingers and hold on that we're going to have it out at some point.
That was Wallflower they did that with.
The Wallflower put out 2 discs.
They put out
and
like
that
2
was
or 3
it.
discs. They didn't do it, and when it got taken up by the other one, all they did was make the slim case version, which meant you had to buy the whole series again, but then it wouldn't fit in your box.
Yeah.
And it's still on my shelf, half finished,
Yeah.
which I will never buy the rest of out of spite.
Yeah, that's fine. I feel great about that. Let's not buy any more DVDs.
I mean, we were never going to buy more DVDs. Let's be fair.
All right, what other stuff we got going on here? EA has bought Codemasters.
That was kind of an out of nowhere thing too, right?
It's not related to bots.
It was supposed to be Take-Two that had like an almost $1 billion bid for Codemasters.
Oh, really? They were in the Take-Two was going to buy them, and then EA snuck in and.
Yeah, it was like the deal was almost done, and it was like, and the very next day after they'd kind of reached an agreement, like, yeah, I guess we're going to do this, and the very next day, all of a sudden, Take-Two wakes up and discovers that, yeah, no, EA put in a bigger bid, and like that's gotta suck when you spent all that time working out a bid, and then you like the very next, you're like, okay, they're going to sign it, we're going to be great, tomorrow I'm going to work all this stuff out, and you wake up the next day and you're like, they didn't sign it.
And you got outbid by a company that probably there's no way you can possibly hope to even match.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to have like Take-Two just like phone up EA and just be like, hey guys, what the hell?
Oh,
Why you got to do us like this? Come on,
it's basically Moneyball the movie, but for video games.
Yeah, I like to think that they have that call every week with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why you got to do us like this? Come on, man.
They have lawyers who
shit?
just
Yeah.
are always on the phone with each other.
And EA is just like, yeah, we don't even want Codemasters.
No,
we don't care.
We're gonna pick it apart and sell it. Now, Codemasters makes Project Cars.
Yeah. So because Mind something was the company. So Codemasters last year, I think, bought the company that makes Project Cars.
Right.
Which is, and so Codemasters, and so this sort of joins in with, so EA now has like a ton of racing games.
Oh.
Which is like Need for Speed, Burnout, Real Racing, Project Cars, Dirt, Grid, F1. So like Codemasters does primarily racing games and stuff. So I was actually mentioning this, we were talking to Ian about this because of course Project Cars is near and dear to his heart. it has been done with the Le Mans in previous years and stuff. He was actually kind of optimistic about it, saying that like the idea of project cars, but with the kind of financial and developer resources that, say, Forza or Gran Turismo have, could be very cool, assuming that that's what happens.
Yeah. This could also just be a we bought the studio, now we leave you alone, if you're lucky, kind of situation, or it could be a we intend to merge you in with another thing, so a bunch of you are about to lose your jobs kind of thing. Like it can go a variety of ways.
Historically, EA has had like not a great reputation in terms of taking over companies and destroying them, but some companies have actually done okay and been able to kind of secure an enclave within EA and not been too bad. So we'll see how it goes. But
yeah, I mean that's the thing. You can buy a company and then just destroy it outright. But you could also merge it with like other teams, because maybe you're like, oh, we want all of our racing car things together, or not, or which is a kind of destruction in a weird way. Or you could just leave it alone. Like there's just other ways that this can go. Or maybe they leave it alone and they're like, oh, you need more people and resources and money, we will give you that. Like, it depends on what they want to do with it.
I wonder if the recent, like the past year, there's been all the like the digital racing stuff. Although I think that's been primarily with like iRacing, is what they've been using primarily, mostly for that. I think.
Okay.
Has been like for the like digital racing circuits, which we've talked about on CheckPoint primarily in situations where racing drivers have done horrible, salty things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's how you kind of get on CheckPoint usually.
Be a huge dink, don't worry, we'll talk about you, yeah.
It's not always it's not necessarily a good thing to make your topic show up on CheckPoint. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but guess what one happens more often?
$1.2 billion, that's $1,200 million, that's $1,200 million.
Seems decent.
Seems pretty decent. Like that's... there's clearly they think there's a lot of value there. I hope they enjoy that Micro Machines racing game they just bought. So, because that's what I remember Codemasters for too. Like people are mentioning in chat, I'm like, yeah, that's what I remember Codemasters for.
So the Smash, as in Smash Brothers, has for the past couple of years has had a independent Super Smash Brothers Code of Conduct panel, which was a cool idea because Smash Brothers is kind of unique in the e-game or esports area in the sense that Nintendo basically doesn't want anything to do with it from an esports perspective. Whereas usually the company that owns the game, is the one that's sort of adjudicating all the esports stuff. But in the case of Smash Brothers, Nintendo hasn't been doing much with it, and so most of the community is community driven, which is kind of neat. So a few years ago, there was this code of conduct. Code of conduct was created, and then a panel to adjudicate that code of conduct was also created of a bunch of people, and then they went in and got a bunch of the big esports tournaments to agree to
follow a unified code or something.
Unified code of conduct, and basically give this panel power in the sense of, if they ban somebody, then they'll be banned from all these tournaments. Or, if they...
Okay. That seems like a pretty good thing to do. Yeah.
Yes. Unfortunately, that panel is now being disbanded. Yes. And I'll level with you, it's not because they've solved all the problems.
Oh, no.
It's not because they have nothing to do, because there's no more code of conduct violations. In fact, it is the opposite. The code
There's
of
so many
conduct,
code of conduct violations they can't handle it anymore.
the code of conduct panel
Oh.
is disbanding because there are too many code of conduct violations. They can't
Oh
handle it
my.
anymore.
That is
And they don't feel like they can adequately deal. Like they're apparently, so there in the past year or so, maybe 2 years, there apparently has been a massive surge in reporting of code of conduct violations of a quite serious nature.
yeah.
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 Harassment, both of a sexual and non-sexual variety, and
Involving majors and minors.
yes, and so as this has been coming in, they've had to deal with more and more serious stuff, and this is a volunteer group, and often they're having to deal with very serious topics, very serious stuff, and stuff that people don't want to be having to look at or deal with. And basically, they're saying that like the reality is at our current pace of work, we would need 5 or 10 years to go through all the accusations people have brought up this summer.
Over the summer.
Yes.
Whoa, I know what you did last summer is not a thing anyone wants to know, apparently.
Thousands of hours would be spent listening to testimonials or getting details about the darkest parts of our community, and that's only when you consider people from this summer. Any questionable behavior in the meantime would have to get added to the waiting list that could be a decade long.
Ouch.
Gross.
Gross.
Oh boy.
So, God, I have so many things I want to say.
All right, we'll start.
I just wanted to share and take part in an event that would show people how cool anime was.
Oh
That's
no.
all I wanted. Because it's like, I love watching anime, I love now being in this club in university, and all I want to do is share all my time showing people how cool anime is, and putting on an event, and being like, let's do all that. And you learn so much about what it takes to put on a single event, to not be like a controller of like what goes on in multiple events, or to kind of do those kind of things. But when you establish a group of people whose job it is to, do those things, and you're like, you're all friends, you're all technically friends in university then, and you're like, well, it's the club that's holding the event. Yeah, but what if we spin it off and we make it its own thing, and then we will have continuity so that it will have similar people always running the same thing, going forward and going on. And then you run into other people holding other events in other cities, and for some reason it starts to become contentious and competitive for no reason. And then you start running into people who are running them in other provinces, and you start hearing about the things that they're going on in their organizations and the trouble that they're having, and watching stuff fall apart. And then you start to realize that there are so many people running so many events and doing so many different things and having so many different ideas about how they want to run stuff, and people who are running up 5-figure bills to put on a convention, and with having no way to pay it, but they're like, that's fine, we'll figure that shit out. Or you start hearing about other people like competing and like, oh, we're going to have a hentai room and like stuff like that. And
every
like,
anime event in Canada, almost every anime event is a fan-based, run, community-based thing. There's not like a corporate event.
And you start realizing that there's this sense of the more of these things that keep going on, and you're now a part of this scene of people who run anime events, and then you realize it's like, but you're part of the scene now. You don't get to be like, well, that's not us. It's like, in a way, it kind of is. And you're just a volunteer. You're just doing this for fun. And the next thing you realize, it's like, I have to try to be responsible for all the, I feel like I'm responsible for everything that's going on at every other event. And if there are bad actors at another event where it happens for one event only, that still like reflects upon you.
This is how things like cosplay is consent started becoming a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Those were things that were already just happening on a lot of places. And then they one convention was like, we're putting up signs and we're doing this, and suddenly every convention is putting up signs and doing that. And it's like, yeah, because guess what? An incident happened that was so big.
Yeah, it's like the one person who says cosplay is not consent, and the next thing you know, that's a movement, and then everyone has to like, it's like, oh right, we all
And
have
you
to
need
participate.
to, because the moment you don't is the moment that you're allowing that behavior to happen.
So where this resonates with me in terms of Smash is it's like a bunch of people got together to be like, you know what we could do is we could make a volunteer thing that can hear these can process code of conduct and do whatever. And they came at this, I'm sure, with the best of intentions. And the fact that they have to disband it because there's just mountains and mountains of accusations. And I'm like, that was never supposed to be your job, man. That was never supposed to be your job to have to hear all of that. And I feel so bad for you.
When you put towards a committee like this, I'm sure that they were thinking, oh, we want to make sure that people are playing fairly.
Yeah.
No one's cheating. No one's like bad-mouthing. None of this other stuff.
If there's sexual harassment, we don't want to hear it.
But there's probably none of that in our community, right? Like, so that's not a thing we'd have to deal with.
Yeah.
I would hope.
And then,
there's a lot of it, to be honest.
All this, like, grooming minors and horrible stuff starts coming out, and just like, whoa, we were not equipped to deal with. Yeah.
And in a way, it's like the Smash community. Like I start to understand why Nintendo wants to take the position of, we don't want you playing our game in tournaments. We do not want you organizing around our game. And maybe this is the reason why. It's because we don't have an interest in overseeing it ourselves. And if you try to organize it, you're not going to do it in a way. Because now when you mention Super Smash Brothers to people who are aware of what go on, they're going to be like, Super Smash Brothers? Oh yeah, that's that game where everyone has been grooming minors. Like, it takes very short jumps in that regard. So I kind of understand where Nintendo's coming from.
I think so the whole like Nintendo going after events and stuff, I don't think I would agree that Nintendo probably doesn't want to host any events with that kind of a background of things going on, and maybe they don't want to do the community management for that. Let's be fair, they don't do a lot in an esports kind of space.
No.
They tried to do some stuff with Splatoon, they tried to do a little bit with ARMS, but they didn't really try to get the ball pushed past a certain like couple of months for it. Really, it was more promotional of please buy our game than we're really interested in doing esports with this stuff.
Yeah.
So I've like no thought that they have any interest in doing anything with Smash in that regard. Now, them going after certain events for using netcode, I assume has more to do with the fact that they don't want the game played in a way that shows that it works that way, or they want people to actually buy the new game because it has online, or other things that are more relevant to, we want to protect our copyright and trademarks and those things, rather than anything overly malicious. Now, you don't have to agree with it. In fact, most people don't. They don't like it at all, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
But the community aspect is a separate thing, and I don't think that has anything to do with Nintendo being like, oh wow, that community is gross, let's shut down all their tournaments.
And if you have, I
don't see that.
If you have an independent Super Smash Brothers Code of Conduct panel, and independent being the thing there, the idea that it's like, well, we will agree to sign off on, like, to be like, we're going to establish conduct, and we're going to be a panel that overhears complaints, and that means that if somebody goes out and starts a backyard Smash tournament for some reason, and says, "Oh yeah, we're going to follow all the code of conduct rules that are put out by the Smash Brothers Code of Conduct panel," and they clearly don't, and something big happens, and there's a lot of news in regards to it, and all that kind of makes the thing. It's like, well, then then it comes back to this code of conduct panel. Like, what are you guys doing? It's like, we're doing our best is all we're doing. These guys said they were going to do it. They follow our code of conduct. They didn't, or they didn't pay attention, or they didn't give a shit. And it's like, yeah, I feel weird about this, but it's like, dude, this is not a place where your volunteer effort is, like, you wanted to make a difference, and I appreciate that, but this is a place where volunteer effort is maybe not what's necessary. A more organized, a more codified effort where people maybe have to pay money to you to be a part of the license. Maybe that's where that has to happen. But if you start taking money for Super Smash Brothers and you don't own it, you're definitely going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, maybe this has to be clearly, like, yeah, I mean, obviously, there's whether who knows whether it's more prevalent in the Smash community than the other community, but it's sort of once people start trying to take responsibility, I guess, then
Yeah.
and it's clear that that this is something that is people can't do it on a volunteer basis. It's not. It's
Yeah.
something that people that people companies that are pushing a esports thing have usually very large community support departments to handle this kind of stuff, and even then, there's all sorts of issues where they don't handle it.
Yeah.
And making people trying to do it as volunteers is really not going to get very far, unfortunately.
And that's the hard part with like if you have an esports thing, you generally need to have community management, community outreach. Some games don't even have esports, and they have a community-based manager whose job it is to watch the community and interact with them and stuff. And Nintendo's just not one of those companies that's ever likely to do that, at least not in the near future. Maybe one day if they ever get their internet sorted.
So anyway, that's the current situation. Now I guess basically now what's happened is it's back to I would assume the individual Smash tournaments are
Probably.
handling it on their own, right?
I mentioned
If
that
there-
they're
if
still
there's-
happening
And
or trying to.
and obviously there is just legal aspect. Like, it's not like people can't be held accountable at all anymore. There just aren't held accountable specifically within the Smash community. It's more in the general online space.
Yeah.
So
I do know if you want a little bit more of a lighthearted Smash thing, that they did the Sephiroth reveal thing the other day with Sakurai, and they showed people that Gino is now a costume, so he's never becoming a character.
in lighthearted Smash news, Mario got stabbed by
By Sephiroth. You
by
know how it is.
Sephiroth, and everyone
Well-
laughed.
Kirby now has luxurious hair and a sword.
Yeah.
I
And
think he
abs.
still has a sword,
Have we
and that's great.
Have we seen Kirby Sephiroth yet? Like
Yes,
officially?
yeah, they showed him. It's not
Long-
it's not quite the long flowing hair that like the fan art version is,
Oh,
which I would really love. It's a little bit more blocky, but that's kind of to be expected.
It
With
should be
and
like
a giant sword though.
I believe he gets a sword.
That's good.
But I'm not sure. The pictures never really showed one. I assume he's just going to have a sword though, because that's Kirby's
You
my
can't just
favorite
give
Smash
him-
character because of all the outfits you can give
You
him.
can't just give him the gray hair, the Sephiroth hairstyle, and then be like, "There, he's Sephiroth now." It's like, no, he isn't. You got to give him the way too big sword and a single wing and some shit.
He definitely didn't have the wing.
That's too bad.
From the looks of things. That would have been fun.
The wing is only later on, and that's a specific
But
specific version.
Based on the skimming of news I've seen about it, because I personally don't like Smash enough to watch 30 minutes of how a moveset works. There's like 9 new songs that they've added to the game. Sephiroth, of course, they're doing some sort of like event thing where if you fight Sephiroth as a boss character, and if you beat him, you can play as him beforehand as long as you've already like prepaid for the second.
Oh, so you can fight him now, and if you've prepaid for the DLC,
the DLC
you get him
pack,
early.
you can get him a little early to play with him
That's
before he
cute.
actually drops.
All right.
Which sounded really cool as an idea. I mean,
Yeah.
that it does mean you're buying a thing, but you were already buying that thing likely anyhow.
Yeah. Other things.
What else we got?
There is some interesting drama in the Minecraft speedrunning world.
There's a right. There is a speed running of that.
Right.
And what's interesting about Minecraft speedrunning is that at least the most competitive part of the Minecraft speedrunning world is using it's like random seeds, right? Because of course Minecraft the world is generated random. So
Yeah.
you do a random seed and you play it and see and see how far you can get. And there's a very popular Minecraft YouTuber by the name of Dream, who is in fact the #2 all-time YouTube creator of the year, top YouTube
All
creator
right.
of the year. Then again,
Okay, neat.
as we talked about last week, apparently some of the most popular YouTube videos of the year are like ads on other games, so who knows
Sure are.
how valid that is. Anyway, basically, so this isn't even, he doesn't even have the top speedrun
World record. Yeah.
world record. He's like 5th.
Yeah.
Okay, but I
but-
mean, fifth seems really good out of a speedrunning community, to be
Yeah,
honest.
oh yeah. No denying that. But
The one that's being challenged is number 16. It's not even number 5. It's his number 16 run.
All right, that's not what I was expecting.
But basically, a research paper, a 29-page long research paper, including varieties of various graphs and things, has been
hope so.
released by a group composed of volunteers who are studying mathematics and computer science. Basically has done the statistical analyses on this run he did and mathematically proven that the odds of him getting the things that he was doing are so astronomically low that something must have been screwy with, like he was using some sort of some sort of mod that was messing with the probabilities.
Oh, okay.
Basically, he in order to finish a speed run, there's a certain amount, certain things that you have to get in order to get the stuff, in order to go to the end and to fight the Nether Dragon and all this stuff, and the Ender Dragon. And in order to get that stuff in the fastest way possible, there are certain things that have to happen, and they have low percentage, and various things and various drops have very low percentage chances of happening.
Okay.
And when they combine all those things together, basically,
It was into the quadrillions, wasn't it?
yeah. So for the trades,
You had a better chance of winning the lottery.
There is a one. Apparently, there's a 1 in 777 billion chance of getting for one of the things that he did, of getting so many. He did a bunch of like trades with the thing, and a bunch of them turned out really properly the way he did. Mob drop rates during the live stream were 1 in 113 billion chance. Yeah, essentially, yeah, there was a massive chance that this is not shouldn't have been it was possible, but the chances of it happening are so astronomically low that there's no way it should have done. And there's a bunch of drama back and forth about it. It's theoretically not possible to prove without a shadow of a
Conclusively.
doubt, because
Yeah.
there is a 1 in whatever 177
Okay.
billion chance that it could happen. But yeah, it's mostly this article is just kind of interesting because of all it's what's interesting because Minecraft is sort of open source ish. I say ish because it's available especially the Java version is available, and you can look at the source code, or you can decompile the source code quite easily. It's not explicitly like released as source code, but
Oh, okay.
you can access the source code quite easily. So, but what's interesting about that is that because of that, all of the info is known for the numbers of everything, right? So they can
Right,
do
yeah.
this analysis quite definitively.
So he basically did a luck-assisted speedrun.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But-
Because this isn't a perfect run. This isn't like, if you
And
had a
like I said,
tool-assisted
it
speed
didn't-
run and you turned up everything else.
Right, and it's not even
Yeah.
that, like as you said, it's not even that he's number one.
Yeah. It's just been very like, so okay, so it's just like, this couldn't have happened. I believe one of his own mods was part of helping to prove that this couldn't have happened. In fact, I seem to remember in skimming what people have been saying about it, I'm like, is that really what happened? But yeah, it's just like, there's also was apparently a great tweet that Dream put out years ago where he's like, I mean, people cheat in Minecraft, but eventually they grow up. And it's like, interesting that you would, say that. And has he actually come out? Have they actually come out and said, yeah, I did some finagling, I did some stuff, or is Dream still sticking to the idea that it's like, no,
I mean,
this is
did Dream
completely
respond
legit?
at all?
According to this article, yeah, I mean, he's maybe there's been an update since, but at the moment he is maintaining that it's legit.
It's totally legit.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that there's some sort of vendetta against him on this. I mean, what's kind of interesting about this is the idea of cheating, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, in the context of Minecraft, like, what even is cheating? This is a game in which, the parameters for the game itself change all the time. Like new versions of the game come out and change all the stats, and there's all sorts of different stuff in the game. Like the only thing that you could classify, I mean, it's more like it's more like lying than cheating. Really, it's like saying that it was done under certain conditions when it was not done under those conditions. I guess.
If you run a Pokemon Nuzlocke run, while technically the things that you the rules that you're placing upon yourself are not actually restricted within the game, if you ignore those rules, then I would consider that a form of cheating. So if you're running a specific speed run and you're claiming that it is correct that you did the things the way that you did them, and it turns out you didn't, I would still say that's probably a form of cheating.
I mean, certainly,
at that point,
certainly in the context of the speedrun thing, it is a invalid speedrun. I mean, actually, in the same way as the thing we did last week about Billy Mitchell and the Twin Galaxies thing, where it's like nobody is actually disputing that he got his the
score that he got.
The score that he got. What is disputed is that whether it was on a unmodified game device, right? So it's not he wasn't cheating at the game of Pac-Man. He was cheating at the he made an invalid speed run.
Yeah. And so there's this situation where it's like, if Dream did this for real, if all the stars aligned and everything came out, because it is possible, even if it is not probable, if it is possible that it all came out the way that it did, it's like the speedrun still remains tainted because there's all this doubt that you could actually pull it off in that way, because the doubt, the idea that it's like, it's like photoshopping stuff, right? It's like, well, that's not a real image because I know Photoshop exists. It's like, yeah, but I took the picture for real. Like, this is exactly what it looks like. It was everything lined up and I got the photo. It's like, yeah, but I know Photoshop exists, so you probably screwed with this. Like, no, I didn't. I swear to you I didn't. But it's like, because you can screw with Minecraft settings, because you can do all sorts of things, you can program mods to do all that kind of stuff, it's like, there's always going to be doubt. But then there's that sense of, do you throw doubt on other people who did better in the speedruns as well. It's like, did you do something else to make this happen? Was it done under conditions that people can claim that yes, everything's fine, and then we start to as Myandra said, it's technically possible to win the Powerball lottery 3 weeks in a row, and it's like,
I mean, we watched that video last night about the kid who made the perfect bracket.
he made the perfect Final Four bracket, and it's like he had that was in the quadrillions to actually figure out the perfect Final Four bracket, and they asked him, "How'd you do it?"
He doesn't play basketball. He doesn't pay attention to it, and he just went with, well, this seemed. I liked the name of this.
Yeah, I wanted this team to win over this week.
So I write that. Or I thought this team should win against this team because it's boring that the other team always wins. Like,
yeah, I wanted the number 11 to beat the number 3 because I think it'd be more interesting if they won. And it's like, Jesus, like,
is it the Cherry Pratchett thing where 1 in a million chance happens 9 times out of 10?
Yeah. and that's the weird thing, right? Is it's like we can't ever, like, maybe you can't ever say that, oh, this shouldn't have happened, but if Dream is maintaining, I didn't cheat, I didn't lie about this really happened, it's like it kind of also comes down to, ultimately, in the scheme of things, does it really matter? Like, do you put a star next to it and link to a page on the controversy of it and describe the controversy and be like, fine, you can have the record, but it will go down as being part of the controversy. And then everyone takes a deep breath and they take a step forward and they move on. Like, I know this has real world implications to whether this dude continues to make money, obviously.
I mean, the great thing is, because this person is a very prominent YouTuber, what this has actually done is it's really created, like, there is a whole cottage industry around, making, like, disputing or explainer or agreement or disagreement or commentary videos on this particular topic, right? Like, it's really just making jobs is really what he's doing. What it's doing is this kind of stuff. Where,
that's one way to look at it.
Like, there's probably like 100 or more videos on YouTube about this, like, about this guy, and this, not even about this guy, about this particular topic.
Yeah, this one incident.
Yeah. Anyway, it's nice to read, to hear about drama that is, mostly
doesn't affect us in any way.
Mostly doesn't affect us, and is, not about people doing horrible things to each other. So, yay.
I mean, it's not a thing we're likely to bring up again, at least unless something really weird happens somehow. That is more weird than anything else that week.
Now, I think that's the last story we're been talking about.
What about the British MPs want console scalping made illegal?
Oh, right.
That seems like a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, this is a British a number of British MPs, 6 members from the Scottish National Party, SNP, have tabled a early day motion, which calls for a ban on the resale of gaming consoles and computer components that have been purchased with automated bots. This article is talking about now, it's saying, like, early day motions are less like a thing that is, like, being put forward as a bill, and more like something that they want to raise as a topic of discussion, from what I understand. The way the parliamentary stuff in the UK works is a little bit strange. Well, not strange to them, but it's different.
It's so different from our own kind of thing that we don't have a very good grasp on it, I would say.
But basically, the idea behind this is presenting this idea. So when I initially read this, I was like, this seems like a very specific thing? Like, why just consoles and not like a more like, are we just, is like scalping other stuff okay? What does scalping mean in this context and all this kind of stuff? Which seems like it would be highly problematic for a bill. But then I realized, but then it says in the article that ticket scalping is actually illegal in, I don't know, I don't think it's illegal in Canada or in North America. It's not very nice.
I mean,
I'll look it up.
just because something is illegal doesn't mean it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I don't know if it's actually illegal, but anyway, it is illegal in the UK.
Good.
It varies by state in the US. Okay.
And it varies by province in Canada.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
But ticket scalping is illegal. So, like, there already is a definition of scalping, is what I'm saying. A legally defined thing of scalping. So, extending that to consoles isn't that big a thing. The idea, though, that this is just gaming consoles and computer components seems kind of an odd, like, obviously it's a reaction to the current situation with the obviously the big consoles that came out, and then plus the
NVIDIA card?
The new NVIDIA 3000 series cards have been basically impossible for people to get because for the exact same thing with scalpers and things. And this is specifically talking about when you're buying, people who are buying them with bots, right? So it's an interesting idea. I don't know if it's something that could be easily enforced, especially since a lot of this purchasing is done probably by people who are not in the UK. So,
but I think there's a sense that it's like if you start for things that would be available for purchase in the UK in the first place, that if you're like, okay, you know what, we don't like that this happens. We think that this isn't in the spirit of fairness, and so we want to design a law we think that there should be a law. So let's design a law that makes the resale of goods purchased by an automated bot illegal, if that's how they're going to define as scalping. Then by doing that, then it's like, all right, now we've established that this is the case. It isn't up to the government to, like, they made a law. It isn't up to the government to be the technology, to figure out the technology or the behavior or whatever behind that. Their job is to enforce it, obviously. But they can enforce it by being like, you can come to the courts and we will find people guilty if they do the wrong thing. Or if you want to make it a criminal charge, you can put it on the police to have to enforce that kind of thing. But it's like, if they want to make it illegal, they want to provide consumer protection. I think this is really neat that it's like your constituents are saying to you, damn it, we hate that this happens. There ought to be a law. And it's like, well, then I guess you can make a law.
Yeah, to me, this is one of those very tricky, like, whenever there's, laws like this in areas that I know like a little bit about, I always get like, I know a relatively large amount about this topic. And from my perspective, I have no idea how you would make a law that would target what you want to target without messing
hurting
things
something
up.
else.
Because it's like, obviously reselling is not you don't want reselling to be illegal.
Yeah,
because that's a big thing that people do, and you don't want, and so and it's like you want to make it so buying things with bots is not allowed. Or buying things with bots and then reselling is not allowed. But then what do you define as a bot? And then it's like,
well, and how do you prove that those things were bought by bots,
right,
that are being resold?
Well, I think I was breaking it down in my head.
Okay.
And I'm like, you can, if something's being purchased by a bot, so how would you tell that it's a bot? Well, if a bot is making multiple purchases, if a bot is making multiple perfect purchases, basically they're spacing out being able to buy something a certain amount of time apart from each other to be like, I can get in, I can buy a thing, or I can buy a maximum amount of things, and then I can immediately like reload and then do the thing again, and I can process the code, and I don't have to load a bunch of background stuff, and I can just kind of skip through things to buy stuff as fast as possible, because that's usually what you're doing when you're trying to buy stuff for resale, right? Is you're trying to buy as many of these things as fast as possible. So when you do that, the bots it's like bidding on eBay, right? You want your scalper bot you want your bid bot to come in at the very last second to prevent anybody else. You want to snipe, right? That's what sniping is for. is to basically prevent anybody else from outbidding you in that tiny amount of time. And this is like high trade frequency. High frequency trading, that's what the word is. It's like high frequency trading. You want to do it as fast as possible, and you want to get in and out before anybody else can. So if you can identify transactions that are happening that fast, then you can say, okay, we review the transaction log and we see bot activity. Ticketmaster can already do that. They can already review things and say, we can see bot activity here, or what we suspect is bot activity, but we can't do anything about it because it's not technically illegal in all the places, but we can see when bots are buying.
Okay.
So if you do the same thing with buying PS5s, then you could say that we can see that there's a bunch of purchases that were made by bots, and we know that that's illegal, so we're allowed to not honor those purchases, or at least follow up with those people to be like, we have record that you bought 100 PS5s using a bot. We're going to need you to justify that to us somehow. We're not going to honor your sales. So then you design a bot that's like, okay, well, maybe I don't need to buy 100. Maybe I only need to buy 10, and I space it out. But I think what happens then when you do that is it means that it opens up the chances for everyone else to be able to buy the thing as a personal purchase, because now the bot isn't coming back and it isn't hammering the site. It's going slower, and it's making more room for people to buy stuff.
It's like, yeah, and like I'm always with legislation. It's like, the technology can always move faster than legislation can, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's like, does it materially matter if the reason why you can't buy the graphics card is because somebody used a bot to buy a whole bunch of them up, or somebody outsourced to Indonesia and got a bunch of people to click on the button instead?
Yeah.
Like, the end result is the same. So it's like, anyway, it's maybe the idea. I do look to what you were saying, that like, in some ways, just having a law that it's like we now have a line item that we can actually charge people under. Like, we all know person is doing something that we don't like, but we had nothing to charge them with previously. Now we do. I guess there's something that to be said for that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better to at least be trying to do something, or at least having the discussion, I suppose, than to be like, well, it's impossible to figure out, so let's just not bother. I
mean, and there's that kind of thing. It's like when you go to the police and say, I lost this item, or someone stole my car, and they're like, that must be rough. It's like, no, you're an arm of the government that's supposed to protect me against any sort of like incursion upon my person. I want you to do something about it. And they're like, yeah, but we have no way of being able to do it. Yeah. And so with the government, it's like, I don't like the fact that every time a big ticket item comes out that people want to purchase and have in their houses. And it's not even that. It's not like I'm mad about the fact I can't have a PS5. I think it's more that my only option to get a PS5 at this point would be to spend 2 to 3 to 10 times the price if I wanted to buy a PS5, because they all exist and people are trying to sell them for this amazing, like this overcharged amount of money. And it's like, my advice there is like, then don't buy it and deal with it.
Let the scalpers keep all of that merch just laying in their warehouses so that they can't have it, so that when enough can actually be produced, you can buy one at a regular price.
Yeah, and they're thousands of dollars out of pocket. Let them be thousands of dollars out of pocket. That's what I would like to...
Don't let the FOMO get you. There's not that many games worth playing right now that you can only get on PS5.
That's what I think, but if you have people who are like, this seems to happen a lot where we're letting scalpers or whatever try to control things or try to do this or whatever, it's like, we want a law on the books because we think it's shitty. Because you can't do anything about that.
If they can do something about it, they should definitely do something about it. But as a consumer, if you can stave off some FOMO, and do not purchase for more than that thing is worth, it's gonna get a price cut eventually in a couple of years.
And I'm gonna make an appeal to emotion here. I didn't get to see the Tragically Hip on their farewell tour because bots are too busy buying tickets and then trying to flip tickets in my neck of the woods. So there was no way I was going to be able to afford a ticket because people bought tickets and then they immediately turned around and sell them for 5 to 10 times the price. I'm like, I can't afford to pay that. But also, Gord Downey is now dead, and we knew he was dying when he was doing his farewell tour. There will be no way I get to ever see Tragically Hip perform ever again. So you can't sometimes tie this up with, we'll just wait and get it next time. Sometimes there aren't next times.
I know that. You don't have to be all sad.
No, but it's like, that's also a reason why you want to prevent this. You want to discourage people from scalping things in the first place, from reselling automated purchases. Because I think a person who says, I have tickets to this event and I can't go, and I'm going to charge you 10% over market.
I want to point out that I agreed with you on that lie. You didn't need to make me sad about shit.
I'm sorry.
I was talking about a product and what a consumer can try to do now over something like the PS5.
Yeah, exactly.
My goodness.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it for this week. As we said, CheckPoint, the actual episode, will be coming out probably on late.
We're
Sunday.
aiming for late Sunday.
Late
at
Sunday.
This point.
So be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, let's thank people who have subscribed to the stream. Starting with
as fast as we can.
Belpay for 29 months. Thank you very much.
Narkuru for 31 months. Welcome back.
And welcome back to Monkus Be Funky, who's been here for a perfect square of 64 months.
Putney Prime for 2 months. Welcome back.
Razak for 82 months. Awesome.
Aurelian2773 has been here for 47 months. Welcome back.
Professor Membrane for 59 months. Thank you.
Maricat, dearest streamer, thank you for the gifted sub that you have given them.
Dearest
streamer.
The stream is long. I should not have set myself up to play the entirety of this game.
I've forgotten to hydrate recently. Someone please remind me.
Hester Beard has been here for 8 months. Welcome, Hester Beard.
MC40K for 54 months.
Ikara for 21 months. Welcome back.
CD Projekt Red. Got this gift from the Maricat. You are not going to enjoy this stream.
Geez,
sorry,
Red,
you might want to...
Yeah, you don't have to scream at us. Friend Company. Friend Company. It is your friend, and it is a company. Trust Friend Company. Gifted by the Maricat.
Serpent77, thank you for those 29 months of continued resubscription.
And thank you to Basic Human Decency, something that sometimes seems in short supply, but there's more of it around than you think. They've been here for 4 months.
Yeah. You would have hoped they would be around for longer than 4 months, but...
Sometimes it takes a while.
We'll take what we can get, yeah. Winnie the Pooh, official. Gifted by the Maricat. Winnie the Pooh, most people don't know. Super hardcore gamer.
You've given some choice gift subs this time around, Maricat. Farniel for 20 months, the big 2-0. Welcome back.
And welcome back to Lord Bryon, who's been here for 39 months. That's a multiple of 13.
Kerbalized for 22 months. Thank you.
Scalper Joe has been gifted a sub by the Bearcat. This is a gift. It is not a resale.
Please do not try to resell your sub, Scalper Joe. I mean, if you want to resell your account, that'd be kind of funny.
Good old Scalper Joe.
Scalpers are bum bandits.
Yeah?
Scalpers are bum and its. Gifted by Dog of Myth. Thank you and welcome, Scalpers.
Hydrate Bot.
Oh, nice.
Gifted by Maricat. Make sure your bot is well hydrated.
Bots are people too, has been gifted by Dog of Myth.
That's terrifying.
I don't think they are. That's sort of the definition. Anyway.
Yeah. At some point,
I'm just reading the copy.
At some point, we're gonna have robots that'll be actual people, and that'll be nice.
I don't want to talk about that right now.
Wampax. Mispronounced on purpose for 79 months.
T. Stodden for 84 months. Thank you very much.
And for the 600 bits from Pharaohbender27 and Red Shoes Jeff. The bits. We still do that?
I don't know if we do that anymore.
Sometimes. Coming up, we got Friday Night Paper Fight in an hour. And we're gonna be playing some historic brawl, but with a special holiday theme.
Everyone's elves.
That is not the holiday.
Do they have to fight? Do they have to fight Santa?
Everyone is in the land.
Is this just like two-headed giant Santa versus 4 elves?
Check out my reindeer deck.
I could make up some magic things, I'm sure, very easily.
And then on Saturday, there might be some Demon Souls Play It Forward, although I believe Adam is done, so it depends on whether he's doing New Game Plus or not.
Yeah, hopefully that will get updated if needed. Find out. Tune in Saturday morning and find out if we have anything there, but definitely tune in Saturday night for Loading Ready Live.
Loading Ready Live, the final Loading Ready Live of 2020. That's right. Who knows what will happen? We don't. We know some of the things that will happen, but it's live, so
we have some ideas of things we would like to happen. We'll find out if they do.
The most we know is what episode number it is.
Nice.
And then on Sunday, it's Rhythm Cafe, which I think is No Straight Roads.
Yeah, I think we're getting close to the end of No Straight Roads, but I don't know if that'll get longer. I believe we got the update happening this time, and I want to go check out some of the Christmas tracks.
It's hard to see the end because of the road is all curvy.
There's a surprising number of straight roads in that game, Paul.
Play It Forward, which may or not be happening, but it will be the finale, the dramatic finale of Not a Drop to Drink, where Heather and Adam and Cameron and Corey are all going to be playing with Jacob and finishing up the campaign. What's going to happen, Heather?
I mean, that would be spoilers, Paul. I do know that at the end of last episode, we made it to Jordan's house. Finally, we got through the van trip, and
which, let's be fair, was completely unplanned.
We met someone named Quinn, and you'll learn more about Quinn if you watch episode 3. Definitely. But if you haven't, you can go check out session 0, 1, and 2 over on youtube.com/loadingreadyrun. And I would advise maybe doing that if you haven't already, because it is a good campaign. I might be a little biased. But we are also going to do that Q&A thing the week after this week as well. So while the campaign itself will be over, the pre-recorded portion, you can watch us live try to figure out what we think.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We will talk to all y'all later. Bye.
Bye.